You see the way my Sixers played last night?
I saw the way your Sixers played, so I know that you're in a bad mood. I'm sorry to have to ask you questions about it, but I saw you and your friend over there, Mr. Shaquille O'Neal, last night, and Shaq was having a lot of fun with it at your expense and was also, as everyone was, highly critical of Ben Simmons. So as you wake up this morning, that's where it begins. What are your thoughts on Ben Simmons right now?
Well, number one, I feel sad. Nobody wants to see. If you've ever played sports before, you don't want to see anybody just melt down publicly like that. I felt the first thing I felt was like, yo, man, because when you play sports, you're naked for the world, and you just felt bad for the kid because he's a great kid, but clearly he's got some mental issues going on when it comes to free throws, shooting the ball, and things like that. So my initial thought was sad to see somebody struggle like that publicly. Secondly, listen, I've been listening, and I've been on a bunch of talk shows, and listen, I don't. They got to do two things in Philadelphia. They got to sit Ben Simmons down and say, Ben, are you going to work on your game? That's the first conversation Doc Rivers, Elton Brand got to have with this guy and Daryl Morey. They got to sit down and say, are you going to work on your game? Because, I hear all these people talking about, well, they got to trade Ben Simmons. Greeny, what NBA team that watched the last 5 games going to give up a ton to get Ben Simmons? So those are the first two conversations. I hear all these guys talking about, well, they've got to trade Ben Simmons. What general manager in his right mind would watch the last 5 games and say, we need to go and get that guy and give up something for him? Because he makes a lot of money, so you're going to have to match salaries. But what general manager is going to say right now is blowing up the Philadelphia's phone this morning saying, we've got to have that guy. So I think it's a twofold conversation. Is he going to work on his game? Because I don't think it's going to be that easy to trade him.
4 years and $146 million is what he has left on his contract. And so I'm fascinated by this. I asked Magic Johnson this question on TV this morning as well. If you're his teammate, Embiid almost came as close to like openly criticizing him as you usually will see a teammate do after a game last night. The frustration is obvious. If you're his teammate during the offseason, once everything is calmed down, what are you saying to him as a great player? What are you saying to him about what he needs to do?
Well, I think it's similar to the conversation LeBron's going to have with Anthony Davis, to be honest with you. LeBron's going to have to say, Anthony, are you going to work on your body? You should be the best player in the NBA. It's kind of reminding me when I saw Magic on your show this morning, like at some point, LeBron's going to be like Kareem was and have to turn it over to Anthony Davis, and he become the best player. So that's a great similarity. And if I'm Joel Embiid, Ben, you're gonna have to get your game together, man. If we're gonna win this thing, I need you to be not just an all-star, a superstar. And right now, with your inability to shoot the basketball, we can't reach our full potential. Listen, like I say, the Sixers gonna have an honest conversation with Ben, because all these guys getting on TV talking about we gotta trade Ben Simmons. What would you give up for Ben Simmons right now? There's no team in their right mind, even if first of all, even if it's a bad team, what are you willing to give up to get Ben Simmons? I'm not giving up a lot, especially when you said those numbers. He's owed like $140-some million. I'm not going to give a guy $140 million that I can't play in the fourth quarter of a game.
The great Charles Barkley with us here on ESPN Radio. That's obviously what most people around the NBA are talking about today. Let's go to a few other things. Let's go to the opposite extreme. I want to hear from you as an immortal, as one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. How would you describe, for those who did not see your coverage over the weekend, how would you describe what you saw from Kevin Durant in this series against Milwaukee, particularly games 5 and 7? What did he do that you saw?
I saw a guy who's the most skilled offensive player I've probably ever seen. I've never, you can't guard that guy. I've always said I thought James Harden was the best one-on-one basketball player I've ever seen. He's not Michael or Kobe, but as far as being a one-on-one player, Kevin, what he did in Game 5 and 7, I was like, maybe he's the best one-on-one player I've ever seen. But that series, got to take my hat off to the Milwaukee Bucks. Um, Winning Game 6 and Game 7, that was pretty good, man. But Kevin, man, he proved that he's the best offensive player in the NBA.
And I feel like there may be something more to it than that as well, Charles. And that is so many people, Stephen A., yourself, me, and many others, the going to Golden State and winning the championships that they did, that there was always a little something about that it felt like it wasn't the same. That one championship in Oklahoma City, but it would have been worth 10 with Golden State. And then he comes to the Nets, and if he and Kyrie and James Harden do that together, they sort of all share the load, I'm not sure what we would have said about KD. I feel like this series may have elevated him, at least in my eyes, and I'm curious in yours, despite the fact that they lost. I feel like there was something he showed us that he never really did before.
Well, listen, Greeny, he's not going to ever get the credit from guys like myself until he's the number one player, the number one option. Mm-hmm. He joined the bandwagon of Clay and Steph. So we're not even going to give, no disrespect, we're not going to give him credit for what happened in Golden State. Mm-hmm. And listen, when he partnered with Kyrie and James, there was some foul about that, to be honest with you. So it's a really tricky question. But until he wins the championship where he's the number one guy, he's never going to get the respect from the old guys, plain and simple.
I think that's right. I feel exactly the same way, to be honest with you. He proved more to me, not that my opinion should make any difference to him, and I'm sure it does not, but with the way he played in games 5 and 7 when his team needed literally everything from him, he played 101 out of 101 minutes in those two games and won one of them basically by himself and was this close to doing the other one, literally however many inches his toe was over that line, that it would have been a three-point shot instead of a two. I thought that was one of the great performances I've ever seen, despite the fact they lost one of the games.
Yeah, I totally agree. But when Michael Jordan got 63 against the Celtics, it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. But they still got an L hung on them. Mm-hmm. So two things can be true. I mean, when Michael scored 63, I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we're only measured on W's and L's, plain and simple.
Fair enough. All right, the great Charles Barkley. Let me ask you one more thing, Charles. This literally broke. This story came across as we were in our break and getting set to bring you on. So I'm going to read you the information that we have. I very seldom do Supreme Court news here, but I'm going to read this directly. In a victory for college athletes, the Supreme Court has unanimously invalidated a portion of the NCAA's amateurism rules. The court says the NCAA can no longer bar colleges from providing athletes with education-related benefits such as free laptops or paid postgraduate internships. The news is still coming, but the decision was unanimous. The NCAA, the Supreme Court has ruled against the NCAA and in favor of the players. And you obviously played it at the highest level at Auburn. You were a part of the telecast there with Turner and CBS and everybody of the tournament every single year. So I'm interested to hear your reaction as the Supreme Court for today, and I'll get more information as it comes, has sided with the players and not with the and against the NCAA.
Well, let me say this. The NCAA, they're always reactive to anything. They're a bunch of boneheads. They're always reactive. Mike, I'm really concerned about this name, image, and likeness thing on several fronts. Number one, I always want the players to get anything possible. I'm always for the players. But my concern is who's going to get paid? I know, let's take a college football team. The quarterback and the running back, they're probably going to be selling a lot of jerseys. They're probably going to get a car deal. But how many offensive linemen, how many people are going to buy the offensive lineman's jersey, defensive lineman's jersey? Listen, let's take basketball now. Yeah, there's one maybe great player on every college team. He's going to sell a bunch of jerseys and make a lot of money, and he's going to get a car deal. But the other guys are going to be resentful or jealous. Those are the type of things that concern me when we talk about you're going to be able to use your name, image, and likeness. It's going to be great for a couple guys, but for majority of players, nobody's buying a defensive lineman's jersey. Now the quarterback, the running back. Let's take the kid at Gonzaga. The people gonna buy his jersey, maybe a couple more. Baylor, there's a couple guys they might buy their jersey, but this notion that it's gonna open up the floodgates and all these players gonna start making a boatload of money, I don't think that's the way it's going to work. And secondly, if I'm a high school kid, then this is what really concerns me the most, especially for the NBA kid. If I'm only gonna go to college for 1 year, where can I sell the most jerseys? Where can I get a car deal? No, I'm going to Duke, Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky. I'm not going to a smaller school. I've only got to be there for 6 months. How can I maximize my money potential? I think is really going to escalate between the haves and the have-nots. So stuff like that really concerns me. And I don't know the answer. I want to make that perfectly clear. But this notion that everybody can sell their name, image, and likeness now, and everybody's going to make a lot of money, I think that's totally bogus.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.